The autumn leaves drifted lazily through Aqua's cemetery, painting the grounds in shades of gold and amber. It was late afternoon, that quiet hour when the day softened into evening and the world seemed to hold its breath. The cemetery was nearly empty, as it usually was on weekday afternoons, which was exactly why Mia Taylor had chosen this time to visit. She knelt before a simple gray headstone. Her 18-month-old daughter, Rosie, nestled against her chest. Mia's eyes were red from crying, tears she tried to hide from Rosie even though the baby was too young to understand. She had come here every week for the past year, ever since the funeral, and every week the grief felt both familiar and fresh. "I miss you, Mom," Mia whispered, her fingers tracing the letters carved into the stone. "I don't know how to do this without you. Rosie's getting so big. She has your eyes, you know? That same stubborn look when she doesn't get what she wants." She pulled a small card from her canvas bag, a child's drawing Rosie had made at daycare. Mostly scribbles, but with a recognizable flower shape that a teacher had helped with. Mia propped it against the headstone. "I brought you something. Rosie made it. She doesn't understand yet, but someday I'll tell her about her grandmother, about how you worked 2 jobs to put me through school, about how you taught me that love is the only thing that really matters, about how you were the strongest person I ever knew." Rosie squirmed in her arms, reaching toward the flowers on the grave, and Mia adjusted her grip, pressing a kiss to her daughter's soft hair. "I'm trying, Mom. I'm trying so hard, but I'm scared. The rent went up again, and daycare costs keep rising, and I don't know how much longer I can make it work. I wish you were here to tell me everything will be okay. Even if it wasn't true, I'd believe it if you said it." She didn't hear the footsteps approaching until the shadow fell across the grave. "I'm sorry to interrupt." Mia looked up, startled to see a man standing a few feet away. He was perhaps in his mid-30s, wearing a gray suit that looked expensive, even to her untrained eye. He held a bouquet of white flowers and had the kind of face that suggested he'd once been carefree, but had learned sorrow somewhere along the way. "I didn't realize anyone was here," the man continued. "I usually come on Wednesdays, but I had meetings. I can come back later." "It's fine. I was just finishing." Mia wiped her eyes self-consciously, embarrassed to be caught crying by a stranger. She started to stand, adjusting Rosie on her hip. "That's my wife's grave," the man said, gesturing to a headstone about 20 feet away. "She passed 3 years ago. Cancer." "I'm sorry," Mia said automatically. "It's gotten easier in some ways, harder in others." He looked at the grave Mia had been kneeling before. "Your mother?" "Yes, a year ago. Heart attack. It was sudden. She was fine one day, and then," Mia's voice broke. "I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm telling you this, because grief needs witnesses sometimes. We can't carry it alone forever." The man set his flowers down on his wife's grave, then turned back to Mia. "I'm Daniel. Daniel Crawford. Mia. And this is Rosie." Rosie, with the social fearlessness of toddlers, reached toward Daniel with an open hand. He smiled, the first genuine expression Mia had seen on his face. He let her grab his finger. "She's beautiful." "How old?" 18 months. "She's my whole world." Mia hesitated. "I should let you have your time with your wife. I've taken up enough of the quiet. Actually, would you like to sit for a minute? There's a bench just over there. I find it helps sometimes, talking to someone who understands loss. If you have time, I mean, no pressure." Mia should have said no. She didn't know this man. She had laundry to do and dinner to make and 100 small tasks waiting at home. But something in his voice, the genuine loneliness behind the polished exterior, made her pause. "Okay, just for a minute." They sat on the bench, overlooking the section of the cemetery where their loved ones rested. Rosie played with the leaf Mia had picked up for her, babbling happily, oblivious to the adult conversation happening around her. "Tell me about your mother," Daniel said, "if you want to." So Mia did. She told him about growing up with a single mom who worked as a hotel housekeeper and a night shift security guard, who never complained about being tired, who made sure Mia had everything she needed, even when it meant going without herself. She told him about her mother's laugh, her terrible cooking that they both pretended was delicious, her unwavering belief that Mia could do anything she set her mind to. She died 3 weeks before Rosie's first birthday, Mia said. She never got to see her walk. She never got to hear her say grandma. She was so excited about being a grandmother. It was all she talked about in the months before she died. What about Rosie's father? Gone. He left when I was 6 months pregnant. Said he wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Mia's voice hardened briefly. Turns out he was right about that, at least. He wasn't ready. But that doesn't mean Rosie and I don't deserve better. No, it doesn't. Daniel was quiet for a moment. My wife and I couldn't have children. We tried, but it never happened. She always said she was okay with it, that we had each other, and that was enough. But I knew she was sad. I wish I could have given her that. I'm sorry. Don't be. We had 12 good years together. That's more than some people get in a lifetime. Daniel looked at Rosie, something wistful in his expression. She would have loved to meet your daughter. She adored children, always stopped to talk to them, always remembered their names. She had a gift for making people feel seen. Your wife sounds wonderful. She was. She was also stubborn, impatient, terrible at directions, and convinced that she could fix anything with enough determination. She was wrong about that last part, obviously. She couldn't fix cancer. Daniel's voice cracked slightly on the last word. Sorry, I thought I was past this. You'd never get past it. You just learned to carry it differently. Mia paused. At least, that's what my mom used to say about losing my dad. He died when I was 3. I don't really remember him, but she carried that grief her whole life. Your mother sounds like she was wise. She was. Wiser than me. I don't know how to do any of this without her. Being a mom, being alone, trying to build a life for Rosie when I can barely keep my head above water. Mia felt tears threatening again and blinked them back. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm unloading on a stranger. Maybe because strangers are safer. We don't have expectations or history. We're just ... present. Sometimes that's what we need. They sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, watching the leaves fall and Rosie explore her small world of grass and twigs and the fascinating textures of autumn. The sun was getting lower, casting long shadows across the gravestones. I should go, Mia said, finally. Rosie needs dinner and a bath, and I have to be at work early tomorrow. Where do you work? I'm a receptionist at a dental office. It's not exciting, but the hours are consistent, and they're flexible when Rosie is sick. That matters more than anything else right now. Daniel reached into his jacket and pulled out a business card. I know this might seem strange, but my company is always looking for good people. If you're ever interested in something different, something with more opportunity for advancement, give me a call. No pressure, no obligations. Just an option if you want it. Mia looked at the card. Daniel Crawford, CEO, Crawford Development Group. She recognized the name meant was one of the largest real estate development companies in the region. She was sitting on a bench in a cemetery with someone who was apparently very wealthy and very powerful, and he was offering her a job opportunity like it was the most natural thing in the world. Why would you do that? You don't know anything about me except that I'm sad and I have a toddler. I know you loved your mother enough to visit her grave every week. I know you're raising a daughter alone and working hard to make it work. I know you sat with a stranger and listened to him talk about his dead wife because you understood that grief needs company. Those things tell me a lot about your character. Character doesn't mean I'm qualified for anything at your company. Qualifications can be developed. Character is harder to find. Daniel stood. Think about it. No pressure. And Mia, it was nice to meet you. You made today easier than it usually is. After Daniel left, Mia sat for a few more minutes, watching Rosie play and thinking about the strange encounter. She put the business card in her bag, not really believing she would ever use it. But a week later, when her landlord announced another rent increase and the daycare raised their rates, Mia found herself looking at that card again. She had nothing to lose by calling. The worst that could happen was nothing, which is what she had now anyway. She called. The position Daniel suggested for her was in his company's community outreach division, working on programs that connected development projects with local communities. It was entry-level, but paid significantly more than her receptionist job, and came with benefits that included childcare assistance through a company program. Started this division because my wife believed in it, Daniel explained during her interview, which felt more like a conversation than a formal hiring process. She always said that development shouldn't just benefit developers. It should benefit everyone who lives in the communities we build. This team makes sure we remember that. Mia got the job. She threw herself into the work, discovering that she had a talent for listening to people, understanding their concerns, and translating between corporate language and community needs. Her experience growing up in working-class neighborhoods gave her credibility with residents, who were skeptical of developers, and her attention to detail impressed her colleagues. Daniel checked in on her progress periodically, but he was careful to maintain appropriate distance. He was her boss, indirectly, and he was conscious of the power dynamics that entailed. It was Rosie who brought them together more organically. Mia sometimes worked late, and the company daycare would bring Rosie to her office. Daniel would occasionally stop by and end up playing with the toddler, showing her pictures on his phone or letting her scribble on paper while he and Mia discussed work. This reminds me of my niece at that age, Daniel said one evening. The same determination to do everything herself, even when she can't quite manage it yet. That's Rosie, stubborn as they come. Gets it from my mother, I think. Maybe from you too. Mia smiled. Maybe. The friendship developed slowly, built on shared grief and mutual respect. They visited the cemetery together sometimes, placing flowers on graves that represented different losses but similar pain. They talked about their loved ones openly, keeping memories alive through storytelling. My wife would have loved you, Daniel said, one autumn afternoon, almost exactly a year after they'd met. Your directness, your refusal to be impressed by status, your dedication to Rosie. She valued those things. I wish I could have met her. Me too. Daniel was quiet for a moment. Mia, I need to tell you something, and I'm not sure how to say it without making things complicated. Just say it. I prefer direct. I've developed feelings for you, beyond friendship. I've been trying to ignore them because of the professional relationship and because I wasn't sure I was ready to feel anything for anyone again. But I'm tired of pretending, and I think you deserve honesty. Mia had suspected this was coming. She had been wrestling with similar feelings, trying to determine if they were genuine or just the comfort of shared understanding. I have feelings for you too, she admitted. But Daniel, this is complicated. You're my boss, sort of. And there's Rosie to think about. If this doesn't work out, it affects more than just us. I know. I've thought about all of that. And if you'd rather keep things as they are, I completely understand. Our friendship is valuable, and I don't want to risk it. But I also don't want to spend another few years wondering what might have been if I've been brave enough to ask. What are you asking exactly? I'm asking if you'd be willing to explore this. Slowly, carefully, with full awareness of the complications. I'm asking if you see any possibility of us being more than friends. Mia looked at Rosie, who was toddling between gravestones, collecting fallen leaves. She thought about her mother, who had raised her alone and done a beautiful job of it, but who had also been lonely in ways she never admitted. She thought about what she wanted for Rosia, life filled with love, with people who showed up consistently, with models of healthy relationships. Yes, she said, finally. I see that possibility. But we need to be smart about this. For everyone's sake, they were smart about it. They dated quietly at first, keeping their relationship separate from work. Mia continued to excel in her position, earning promotions based on merit rather than connection to the CEO. Daniel was careful never to give her special treatment professionally, and Mia was careful never to expect it. But outside of work, their relationship flourished. Daniel fell in love not just with Mia, but with Rosie, who called him Dan Dan before she could manage his full name. He attended her dance recitals and pediatrician appointments and helped Mia through the sleepless nights when Rosie was sick. "You're good at this?" Mia told him one night when he'd finally gotten a feverish Rosie to sleep. "The dad stuff. I never thought I'd get to do the dad stuff. I'd made peace with that. But Mia, being part of Rosie's life, being part of your life, it's given me something I didn't know I was still missing." They married on the anniversary of the day they'd met in the cemetery, exchanging vows in a small ceremony with family and close friends. The reception was held in the community center that Crawford Development had built as part of one of Mia's programs, a project that had become a model for how companies could give back to the neighborhoods they developed in his vows. Daniel spoke about finding love in unexpected places. "I went to my wife's grave on a Wednesday afternoon, expecting the same quiet grief I'd felt for 3 years. Instead, I found a young woman crying at her mother's grave, holding a baby, and somehow still managing to listen to a stranger talk about his own loss. That day, I met someone who understood that grief and love are not opposites. They're the same thing, expressed differently. Mia, you taught me that it's possible to honor what we've lost while still being open to what we might find. Thank you for taking a chance on a sad man in a cemetery." Mia's vows were equally moving. "My mother told me once that the right people find you when you need them, even if you don't know you need them. I thought I was alone in the world after she died. I thought Rosie and I would have to figure everything out by ourselves. But then a stranger asked me what my story was, and instead of walking away, he stayed. He listened. He saw us. Daniel, you didn't rescue us. We were surviving fine on our own. But you made our lives richer, fuller, less lonely. You loved my daughter before you loved me, and that told me everything I needed to know about your heart." At the reception, Rosie, now 3.5, gave her own toast, which mostly consisted of saying, "I love Dan Dan," and then hiding behind Mia's dress. It was perfect. Years later, the Crawford family would visit the cemetery together. Daniel, Mia, Rosie, and eventually 2 more children who came along. They would place flowers on both graves, telling stories about the grandmother Rosie barely remembered and the first wife the younger children never knew. "This is where Mommy and Daddy met," Rosie would tell her siblings, proud of knowing the family origin story. Mommy was crying, and Daddy asked what her story was. And then they fell in love. It was more complicated than that, of course. Love always is. But the essence was true. 2 grieving people had found each other in a cemetery, and instead of staying stuck in their separate sorrows, they had built something new together. The gravestones remained permanent reminders of loss, but they became markers of connection rather than just memorials to the dead. Every visit was an opportunity to honor what had been lost while celebrating what had been found. "Thank you, Mom," Mia would whisper every time she knelt at her mother's grave. "Thank you for teaching me that love is the only thing that matters. Thank you for making me strong enough to accept help when it was offered. Thank you for giving me the courage to try again." And somewhere, in whatever space the dead occupied, Mia believed her mother was smiling, knowing that her daughter had found happiness, that her granddaughter was thriving, that the love she had planted had bloomed into something beautiful. Sometimes the most profound connections begin in the most unlikely places. A cemetery, a shared grief, a stranger's question, "What's your story?" That question, asked with genuine curiosity and compassion, had opened a door that neither Mia nor Daniel had known they needed. It had led to friendship, then love, then family. It had transformed two broken hearts into something whole. All because a millionaire had looked at a crying woman at his wife's grave, and instead of walking away, had decided to ask her story. And all because a struggling single mother had decided to answer. If this story reminded you that connection can be found in the most unexpected places, and that sharing our grief can sometimes lead to sharing our lives, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who believes in second chances at love, and subscribe to our channel for more stories about finding family in unexpected ways. Leave a comment below about a time when a chance encounter changed your life, or when sharing your story with a stranger led to something meaningful. Your stories remind us all that we're never as alone as we think, and that sometimes the people we need most find us exactly when we need them.